Hello, 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 and I'm actually starting to really look forward to doing these lives, the serious ones, because I get an opportunity to inspire you about things that are happening research-based, evidence-based data that doesn't get spoken about on cooking shows, that doesn't get talked about in girls' catch-up groups, but we need to know this stuff. And it's really actually quite difficult to interpret a lot of the research that goes on, and it takes... Look, I've been reading research papers for years, and I do have a nerd slant. I'm just going to open up the light, so let some light in here. This is my little office. Whoop. So I do have a very strong nerd slant, and when I did my... I've been to university over 14 years. I've been at uni getting various degrees and diplomas, and I remember one year specifically when I was down in Melbourne doing my critical care. I went to Deakin University, huge shout out to Deakin, fantastic university, and I did my critical care nursing there, and it was 4 units a term, so it was pretty intense, and maybe I'll shut that door. But, I was pretty naughty. One of the subjects I found a little bit, it was about research actually, and I used to use that subject to go to the library and I would read studies. And that's what I used to do. I used to read lots of different research papers and studies, and I really enjoyed finding out what the cutting edge research showed about people's health, where they were at, and how they could, pretty much, you'll find most research papers that are published, particularly PubMed, which is what I became an avid fan of, is very much the medical research. And often, I'd start going to seminars when I became a pharmaceutical rep, and I'd be sitting there in the audience listening to a specialist go, there's no research to show that CoQ10 helps with heart failure. And, I used to listen to it as a... coming from that Western model of, looking to Lancet and the British Medical Journal and, the top 5 journals. And you know what? Medical journals aren't looking for natural remedies. They're looking for pharmaceutical remedies. Hi, Barbara. I'm so glad you're on. People will start jumping on this as we keep chatting. Lovely to see you here. And as someone coming from that Western model, that nursing model, that pharmaceutical model, I used to sit there in my chair too going, well, there's no research to show that CoQ10 helps with heart failure, but do I swallow this? Do I believe it? Because it's naturally occurring. And by that time, in my university studies and all my experience, I had done biochemistry and nutritional biochemistry quite a few times at a tertiary level, which means I'd been to some of the best universities in this country and had studied nutritional biochemistry. And CoQ10's not a myth. Blood clotting's not a myth. Interleukins, prostaglandins are not myths. Nor is magnesium, nor is calcium, nor is vitamin C, nor are any of the other things that you'll hear nutritionists and trained naturopaths discuss. They're actually nutritional components that constitute you, and you need to eat those things to make yourself healthy. So when I started to hear, there's no evidence around, CoQ10 stopping heart failure, or there's no evidence around broccoli breaking down xenoestrogens in your liver from my medical counterparts, I used to go, what bush are you hiding behind? Because it's a load of bollocks. Unfortunately, or whatever, I'm not really into conspiracy theories, but I'm really a bit baffled to understand how Western medicine can stand there and say, oh, there's no evidence to suggest that water is good for your health, or that exercise is good for your health, or that anything else that comes out of a nutritionist's mouth is good for you. Because I'm sorry, it just sounds embarrassing when I hear so-called professionals and trainer experts say that now. So with that, not so much fire in my belly, but with that as a pretense around what I'm going to share with you today, I want you to understand that where you shop are the goods that you get. If you're not shopping at David Jones, you're probably not going to be getting, I don't know, $35 baubles. If you're shopping at Target, likely, shouldn't use names, I shouldn't use any of those names, at some other, cheaper end shopping centre, you're probably going to get a range of things on option for you that is supplied by that supplier. It doesn't mean there aren't other options out there. So be very mindful where you shop, where you gain your information and education from. Make sure the person isn't just, I shouldn't say just a chef, but you know, chefs are at the moment sculpting our health, and that's awesome if they've got colleagues beside them who've seen health changes, but otherwise they're chefs. They're great at cooking. So be very, very careful where you shop, where you get your information from. So with that in mind, I want to deliver today one of the most, I believe, going to be one of the most powerful lives I ever deliver. And what I ask is that if you like what you hear, if you've got questions at any point, can you click like? Can you click love? Can you tag some friends? Can you start interacting with me? Because this is going to save someone's life. This is going to save a daughter's life, and I have no shadow of a doubt about it. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a story about two women I know, and if you know other women who have been on this journey, please share it with me. So the first woman I'm going to share with you is actually my mum. My mum was, her name's Jennifer, and you know, she was a pretty extraordinary woman. She had me when she was 21, you know, back in the day, and then had my sister Simone not long after. Now my mum worked damn hard. She worked at the casino as a government inspector, and she'd also done her teaching, and she used to be an Australian surfer. She was incredible. Unfortunately though, I never really got to meet her on that level. She died when I was 12. And what she died from is probably is the fire in my belly. She died of a blood clot from a knee injury. Really, something we know now does kill people. PEs, pulmonary embolisms, blood clots, deep vein thrombosis, post-surgery, post-trauma, after long-haul flights is actually really common. But I don't think my mum should have died. You see, she was only 33, and I can't turn the clock back, but I tell you right now that if 2017 was 1977, when this paper right here that I'm reading now on death rates in the pill was out, and I was the age I was, I'd be trailblazing across this country saying every woman who's taking the oral contraceptive pill in this country should not be smoking, needs their blood pressure checked. You're giving them a synthetic drug. It kills people. It's a synthetic drug. There is nothing smoke screeny safe about the pill, okay? So, back in 1977, when the pill started becoming widely used, The Lancet, the medical journal, one of the best medical journals recognised in the world, said that for women who took the oral contraceptive pill, I'm taking this straight off PubMed, which for you will be backwards. For those taking the oral contraceptive pill continuous for 5 years or more, the death rate was 10 times more than the controls, 10 times more. It's not double, it's 10 times more. My mum died at 33. She was on the pill. She was having a simple operation for a torn little ligament in her knee from a skiing accident, and she died. And by her dying at the age of 33, she left two girls without a mum. I'll tell you a story about another girl I looked after, and this is when I was a nurse at Monash Medical Centre, which is, you know, a major medical centre in Victoria, and I was working on neurosurgery, and it was the neurological world. So we had neurosurgery, also had neurology. And she was a young girl who came in. I actually can't remember her name, but I just remember pushing her around in a wheelchair. And at the time, she was 3 years older than me, and she'd had a stroke. She'd had a stroke at the age of 25. And the stroke came about because she was on the oral contraceptive pill, and she also used to smoke cigarettes. It's a lethal combination. And no girl on the planet should be taking the pill if she's smoking. No girl should be offered the pill if she might ever have one cigarette. Because progesterone, progesterones, synthetic progesterones are well known to cause blood clots. And the evidence-based medicine is there. Now, what I want to pitch up to all doctors around the world is, do you have these conversations with these young girls when they come into your clinic and they've got acne, or they've got mood swings or migraines before their periods? Are you sitting down with them, giving informed consent in your 3-minute consultation, discussing all the possible risks? Are you telling them about my mother who died at the age of 33? Are you telling them about all the young women around the world who've had strokes and blood clots? Some that have died and some that have had strokes. Are you telling them that there's a massive high risk of that before you go and prescribe the pill? Or are you just prescribing the pill, saying you need to take this every day? Just putting it out there, because the evidence suggests that you guys are not doing that. And that, I'm afraid, is negligent. So, big studies. I'm obviously quite fired up about this, I didn't realise. Guess it's a bit close to home because of my mum. It's a bit close to home because I cannot be quiet about some of the stuff I read and hear, and some of the conversations I hear, like on Radio Triple J. Please give me a like if you... I mean, I'm being very passionate here. I'm not holding back on punches. If you like what I'm saying, please give me a like. Now, the pill... When I first heard about this Danish report, it was published in published in the American Journal of Psychiatry mid-year this year. And it's this follow-up Danish study. The guy who supervised the study is, he's turned this into his life work, so that's really good. His name's Dr. Ligard. He's from Copenhagen. And what he found last year and published last year in another medical journal was that girls have an 80% increased chance of developing depression when you start the hormone pill. 80% increased chance. That's across the board, all ages. And it wasn't just a few women that he collected this data on. It was 500,000 women. 500,000 women, 500,000 women. And I think the dates they ran it from was like 1986 maybe to... Actually, I was reading the papers before. I've got so many dates flipping around my head. To 2013. But the long and the short of it was, that's a lot of what we call longitudinal information. So longitudinal data is the most powerful because that's when you can measure trends and ebbs and flows over a longer period of time. And generally things that might be trends or individual nuances generally get ironed out over a longer period of time. So longitudinal data and studies are worth quoting because generally they reflect the longer term impact that a tablet or a device will have. So Lagarde's stuff from Denmark is pivotal. 500,000 women studied, documented about what happened to them over that time. And the ages of these women were from 15 to 34 and it's over a 13-year period. Now, the 80% increase of developing depression on the pill across all ages. Okay, so let this fact sink in. Let me word this a different way. 8 in 10 women who go on the oral contraceptive pill are more likely to get depressed. Now, if you've had depression for a day, you know how it sucks. And most girls I talk to, look, I had a website called Bye Bye Bridget a few years ago, and she was very much about what goes on inside our heads. And a lot of us don't get the opportunity to talk about it. But most women I know get depressed at some point or other. In fact, most people I know do. It's just when it, I wouldn't say the word wallow, but it's when it becomes your day in, day out that it sucks. Because you want off that awful merry-go-round. Or it's not even like it's a merry-go-round. It feels like you're down the bottom of a hole. And it feels like the sun that used to shine is no longer there and it's just dark above your head. And you're down this deep pit. And you'll do anything to get... Well, actually, I think after a while you stop caring about trying to get out of it because it feels foul. It feels disgusting. It feels depressing. And that's when suicide becomes a logical out. Now... I don't expect you to give me a like for this if you've been there. But certainly as a teenager across, we all used to have our little diaries when I grew up. And it was common for a lot of us to have that feeling of, life sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. But we would shift out of it. I did have a period, though, when I moved to the Gold Coast and I went out with an absolute narcissist who ended up being a stalker. And I do recall this particular day where I thought, killing myself was a really good option. And fortunately, I don't know how I got through it, but I didn't. I didn't attempt it. I got through it, and thank God, because I don't have those feelings anymore. That feels like another planet that doesn't exist in my universe anymore. So I've got through it. But if you're going through it, if you've been there, if you've done that, tried that, can I suggest that you really consider your hormones to be a pivotal factor here? and this is the thing that you're not going to find answers for in Western medicine. If your hormones are imbalanced, you need to find somebody, you need to find a group that you can help you through this. And I'm not saying that men don't understand female hormones, but it's interesting talking to a woman who, even if it's a female doctor, will have a greater sense of empathy, I believe, just because there are things that are very difficult to put words to without sounding like you're a total nut job. AKA, thank you hormones, but that's what they do. And they can drag us on a merry-go-round of feeling insane at times, and feeling irrational and wanting to scream at the world, but knowing deep down that we're still a beautiful person, and that's hormones. So please give me a like if you know what I'm talking about there, because this is the girl stuff we need to start discussing and making each other feel okay, because hormones, really, they can be like a bushfire. They can rage out of control, and I tell you, a man with a Hessian sac, aka a pill, ain't going to put it out. Just saying. So, I've dedicated my clinic. I think I'm up to now 5,000 clients who've seen me and consulted me over the 16 years on hormones. But I'm trying to step into the space now of showing you how to be happy and sexy. Because if we can get you being happy and sexy, your hormones take care of itself. So that's kind of cool. Let's go back to this pill. The things you need to know. So just a little bit of sciencey stuff, which means the glasses go back down. So what is the pill used for? The oral contraceptive pill, and in this study actually they looked at hormone contraceptive devices. So that also included a patch. It didn't include the Mirena or the IUD, but it did include the pill. Now generally, and look, they found that suicide attempts, let me read this one statistic actually, which made me shiver. Okay, so this same Danish study found that... Okay, so this is word verbatim, okay? Verbatim, I always say that wrong. The research found that young women aged between 15 and 33 who used hormone birth control were 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women who'd never used birth control. 3 times more likely to die by suicide. Now, let's just say one girl dies of suicide and suddenly 2 girls died of suicide. People are scratching their heads going, this is not right. Young girls shouldn't be taking their lives. But when you've got a statistic where you know that there's 9 girls on the ground and one of them, or all 9 of them died because they had an increased depression and increased direct correlation because they were on the hormone pill, would you not feel compelled to say to everyone in the world, do not put your young girls on the pill? Would you not? Like, how can we risk that? How can we even go there? Like, the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm thinking it's just crazy that we have it as a first-line strategy for acne in young girls. So what happens when girls hit puberty and the age is going up a little bit, but generally it's changing in Australia, but interesting in third world countries and more tribal countries, the age has always been quite young. So puberty kicks in around 10 or 11 in some countries. In Australia, it's getting later, and we're putting that down to pesticides, false estrogen readings, and a lot of girls actually have high testosterone. So we're, one of the leading countries for this syndrome called polycystic ovary syndrome or high androgens. Not normal. It's not normal. Like when medicine goes, oh, we don't know what's going on, it's like, oh, come on. The only thing that's changed in the last 15 years is our lifestyle. The rubbish that we're eating, the packets that we're putting into our mouth, the fact we're sitting in front of screens, we're not out and about, people aren't eating green leafy vegetables and broccoli anymore. Like it just, of course we know what's causing it. It's in back to front for you guys, but Beauty and the Beast Within. This is what my book is about. Hormone changes in young women and the hormones that make us feel wild. So our young girls are getting angrier. Yes, glassing incidences are on the rise. Young girls are really fighting with anger and rage that we didn't have when I was growing up. We'd get a little bit, but there might have been the occasional cat fight in the play yard, but not like there is now. It's not rocket science. I go past a high school to go to the beach, and when I cross at the lights, all the young girls are coming out of the local service station with their Slurpee before they even go to school. Slurpee, I don't know, average about 10 to 15 cubes of sugar. Guess what sugar does? It locks onto your cells. So, and if you're low on B7 or inositol, your testosterone goes up. Testosterone is the thing that makes us angry. So these girls have got this anger before they're even sitting down. Alternatively, their testosterone gets into the cell and their sugar goes up. So they get acne or they get fat bellies, muffin tops. When I went to this particular high school, side note here, 2 years ago, I was asked to speak to the, I think they were grade 11 and 12s, and they crammed like 150 of these students into the room, and, you know, all the usual smells that came out at that age. I was abhorred. I was just disgusted that, like 5 kilometres from where I live, I went to the teachers and I said, oh, you know, how much nutritional education have these guys had? And they said, you're it. I said, I beg your pardon? These guys are in grade 11 and 12, and I'm the only conversation they're going to have through their schooling about nutrition. They said, yeah. So these kids were sitting there eating chips, drinking Slurpees, soft drinks, what I would call CRAP, and I'm trying to inspire them for the rest of their life that what they were doing right there, right now, is going to make them stink, give them acne, give them hormone imbalances. It was like a wasted talk. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the school tuck shop served it. I can't believe that people in school uniforms can buy a Slurpee full of sugar and walk with it on their way to school or have a chocolate milk. It should be banned. Absolutely banned. So anyway, I digress so much. So acne in young people is a real thing. Hormone imbalances are a real thing. In Australia, it's getting worse. In America, it's getting worse. Is it an unknown? Do we not know what's going on? No, let's kind of hedge our bets. It's the food and the crap that the kids are eating. Okay, let's just roll with that for a bit of a wild guess. So their skin comes out in an outbreak. They get acne. So it's distressing. I still, the occasional pimple. Lots of people will get pimples, particularly women, when their hormones are out. Simple. Or if they're eating dairy or having too much sugar, or they're stressed. Sometimes if their gut's not in a healthy place, so if the microbiome, which is about that beautiful voluptuous forest of bacteria that should be living in your gut, if you have antibiotics, stress, fly a lot, it'll be wiped out. So that will also, and can also, cause acne and will manifest on your skin. So, you know, go back to our 14-year-old girl who's eating a lot of rubbish, who's sitting in front of a computer screen, who's not drinking a lot of water, who comes out and, you know, demands lemonade on the weekends, might be having chocolate milks, might have occasional water, but lots of packet chips and packet rubbish, and we feel we better give them treats on a Friday, so we give them pizzas and McDonald's at least once a week, so we don't want them to feel abnormal, even if we're trying to be healthy. And they'll be lucky to have one broccoli head a week. Meh. So no wonder acne is getting worse. But guess what? Acne happens anyway to healthy people. Acne occurs because there's a hormone imbalance for a point in time. So what we could do with these young girls is go, acne sucks. You feel awful about it. You become self-conscious. And, you know, the cystic ones, those terrible ones that get infected are terrible, and they're thick and they go under their skin. It is terribly debilitating for a young girl trying to develop her self-esteem, trying to find her way through life, trying to go well at school, trying to, you know, please her parents, trying to please herself, trying to discover who she is. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Acne is one of the most psychologically difficult things I think teenagers go through. So why do we go to someone who's going to give them a pill that causes depression? Why? Why do we go to someone who's going to give them a pill that doubles their suicide risk? Why? We can't do it anymore, people. We cannot do it anymore. We need to scoop these young girls up in our arms as a community. We need to say, look, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But the way through this is to improve your health. So we don't say that. The way through this is to eat better, because when you eat better, your skin clears up. I don't know. I've got that eye stuff on today. That's it. This is my normal skin. Okay, it's not necessarily fabulous. I still get pimples, but that's it. I'm someone who eats organic. I drink maybe 3 litres of water a day. I exercise every day of my life. I don't know. In my 40s, skin's okay. That's what we need to be inspiring them to do. Eat broccoli. Eat green leafy vegetables. These things help your body break the hormones down. Why do we try and override the hormones with a pill? Why do we try and block the hormones with a pill. It's a natural phenomenon that hormones are meant to kick in, but they will be aggravated if we're eating dodgy food, if we're eating chemicals, if we're eating dairy, if we're eating muffins, croissants, bread, pastas. It's going to make our skin yuck. It's too much sugar, and it will come out as little sebum, so the hair follicle gets lots of oil being produced there, and you end up with acne. We need to inspire our girls to eat better. We need to cocoon them as a village and not offer them the pill first up. And if any doctors are watching this, please don't be defensive. Please just take on board what I'm saying and understand that giving a girl a synthetic pill is going to double her suicide attempts, not risk, attempts. It's going to increase her depression by 80%. I don't think you want that on your hands. I think what you'd rather be saying is, hey, lots of girls your age get this. How about you eat better? I don't know a lot about that, but there's a really good nutritionist down the road. Or maybe you guys could start cooking better and make it a thing between you and your family. Maybe once a week you can take control of the kitchen and come up with a really awesome salad that becomes your signature dish. So when you go to barbecues with your parents, you produce the salad. Let's make people feel really good about mastering their own health. Because this is the only way forward on this. Otherwise, we're going to have more girls dying from being on the pill. Simple. So, it makes ridiculous sense putting a girl on the pill who is already maybe struggling with self-esteem issues because of her acne, okay? So, yes, Barbara, yes, I know. I'm thinking about doing a documentary on this now and just travelling around the world and just saying we've got to put a stop to this because I don't know how many other people around the world are talking about this, but this study is something we cannot ignore. 500,000 girls. We just can't ignore it anymore, people. So the other reason why young people are put on the pill, or you may be thinking about going on the pill, is for contraception. So you don't want a baby, I get it. Hey, morning. So you don't want to have a baby, I get that. Here's an interesting statistics. Now this is from, eyes have to go on. This is from the Royal Women's Hospital, Victoria, Australia, talking about the pill. So I wanted to look up, because the worst pill you can be on is actually a progesterone-based pill. And that's also in Implanon. So that's the implanted device you get in your arm. It's in the mini pill. And I read somewhere that it said 1/3 of Australian women on the pill are actually on these progesterone-based only pills, not the combined ones. And to be honest, I always thought it was the combined ones that were worse, because I know progesterone synthetic is really bad, but estradiol and estrogens are really bad synthetically too. They're linked with, the WHO, the Women's Health Initiative, WHI and now called WHO study in 2002 showed that the estrogen-based ones caused breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So why are we still using hormone replacements to treat a problem? I talked about this yesterday, actually. I said if people have got stress, you don't actually use stress as part of the solution. If you've got a hormone imbalance, we don't give you hormones as part of the solution. We've got to help your body get rid of them and break them down. Give me a like if that makes sense to you, please. Okay, so the pill. This is from the Royal Women's in Victoria. So the pill's the combined pill, 99.7% effective if taken correctly. Nearly 1 in 10 women, so 9% taking the pill, still may get pregnant. And that's because they don't take it regularly, diarrhea, yada, yada, yada. So, the pill's not foolproof as such. I wanted to see if there was a clause here saying about a warning about depression and suicide, and this is what you get. So let's just say you've gone and you want a contraceptive device. Now, I always ask my patients when they're put on any of the pills, so was your blood pressure taken? When was your last blood pressure taken? Nah, negative, nil. No, the blood pressure's rarely taken. So, they're not even doing it properly. Anyway, so this is just straight from the website. So the advantages advantages from the oral contraceptive pill: regulate period with reduced blood loss. Acne often improvement or absence of PMS, which can cause uncomfortable symptoms. Disadvantages: tender boobs, nausea, feeling sick, breakthrough bleeding. The pill may cause some weight gain. Hello, I'll come to the marina in a minute. Mood changes or loss of libido in some women. Some kind of make it sound like, oh, you know, there's a handful of chicks over there who are really struggling with the pill. Guess what? The majority of them put on weight, get mood changes, and actually struggle with libido. And then it says rare health problems. So I think, and when they say rare health problems, I think they're talking about the blood clot and the stroke and death risk. And there are some things worse than death, let me reassure you. And that's being a young woman like that young girl who was 25, who had a stroke, who was no longer ever going to walk again normally. Or, you know, my mum died at 33. She's not really suffering. It was just the aftermath of us two kids trying to find our way through life without a parent. Thank you, pill. So the health risks it says here, serious health risks with the pill are rare. Not according to the Danish study. Smoking increases the risk of harmful effects. The pill is not suitable for women with the following conditions: focal migraine, history of clotting. Probably at the age of 15 you don't know if you've got a history of clotting, just saying. Liver problems, you probably don't have those either at that point. Or unusual vaginal bleeding. I think we can go a lot better. It got worse after reading this. I think I read this before I went live, and I think that's where I started just getting a bit like, this is probably the most redundant approach I've seen to a natural phenomena, which is a transition of women having a hormone change into becoming a woman. Now, if you're using it for contraception, can I encourage you to consider other things? Can I encourage you, there are some really awesome contraceptive devices out there now which don't dramatically alter your systemic, which is your whole body effect, and it certainly doesn't affect your mood. Having said that, it's not natural to your body, so you still might react to it. So some of those things, and look, I'm not a substitute for a professional family planning consultation. Go and see one of those doctors. Most of them are amazing. So, you know, look up family planning doctor in your local city and go and have an appointment. They're usually some of the most caring doctors I've come across. And they'll lay out for you what your options are. So there's the pill. There's barrier methods, which is like, you can get something that's called a diaphragm, which is like it looks like my speaker, but smaller. And you slop it in and put a little bit of spermicide on it, and it acts like a barrier so sperm can't go through, supposedly, allegedly. Still has a reasonable failure rate. There's the Billings method, or the if you're having sex when you're fertile, you don't, or you do other methods during that time. There's always good old condoms, yay. Synthetic hormones that affect your whole body, and even a local hormone such as a marina. I think we're going to see something that was, a great idea, but didn't last. Sorry if it fades in and out. It's my reception here. And around this time every day it just goes really dodgy. But I think we're going to find there's going to be a swing off the pill. There has to be. Like, this information needs to be spread. You need to share this. You need to have these conversations. Maybe not the Christmas table thing, like religion, politics, maybe the oral contraceptive pill, keep it off the table. But when everyone's in that post-sugar comatose state, hit them. Just get everyone off the pill. The American Journal of Psychiatry, it's a pretty powerful journal. We're talking 3 times more suicide girls on the pill. This cannot be swept under the carpet. So, what can you do apart from having these conversations over the next couple of weeks, sharing this post? Barbara, have you got anything to add to it? Because I know you've got a story you were telling me about offline. The way I approach this, because I help girls with their hormones, is what I do. You can download this book right now. I've got it on at $7.95. It gives people an idea what testosterone does and what estrogen does in their body. You can go to my website, even on my Facebook. I've got a, I think it's under, I'm just getting to really know my way around Facebook. I think it's under services on my work page. You can actually order the book straight from Facebook. It comes and it's a download. You can read it straight away. I've got plenty of blogs on it. If you use a marina, you must read my blog about the marina. So the marina is a progestin-soaked IUD that's used very commonly as a contraception. It's progesterone-soaked. It's meant to work locally, just in your uterus, but it can in a lot of people cause weight gain. I wrote a blog on it. In America, the FDA has set up a particular arm just to gather the data. We haven't got a lot of longitudinal data on the Mirena yet, excuse me, but I guarantee in the next 5 years we're going to be seeing studies like 500,000 women followed for the last 13 years who used the Mirena. These were the stats. The stats are already horrendous with the Mirena. Weight gain is 5%, and the research said the weight gain is about 9 kilos over 3 years with a Mirena in. That the average, some gain 2 to 4, and it goes up the longer it stays in. If you've got a Mirena, you need to read my blog on it. You can do a saliva test. I've also got that. I'm just looking. It's under services, I think it is, on my Facebook page. Yeah, so you can just go into my services page and order yourself a hormone kit. You can pay for it. It doesn't include a consultation. If you want a consultation, go to my website and I'll walk you through it once we get the result back. This is powerful, knowing what your body's doing, balancing your hormones. With your diet, and broccoli is amazing. Broccoli is a superfood in my mind, as are mushrooms and other things that I talk about in my lives. And in my 6-week reboot program, which is starting in January, just a plug for it. If you want to reset your health, I've got, starting in 3 weeks' time, a 6-week program that reboots your health. You get private consultations with me. We do a hair test, so we see what foods you are having problems with. And for 6 weeks, you get a private talk with me in a group style. We talk about health, hormones, setting up your most perfect year, managing stress, working out your values and getting clarity. So I invite you to look at my 6-week program as well. I think cleaning up your diet's super, super important. Stop dairy. There is no benefit from us having dairy. That little voice that's saying you need dairy for calcium. Tell that little voice that you get heaps of calcium through nuts and seeds and green leafy vegetables and other meats. So calcium, it's a bit of a myth that it only comes from dairy. It comes from lots of other sources. So we should not be having dairy. The casein in it, the protein's really bad for us. It'll mess up your skin. We shouldn't be having lots of sugar. Chocolate milk, soft drinks, terrible for young people. It makes them go aggro. It shifts their hormones, no doubt about it. It's not a myth. It's not a mystery why PCO and endometriosis are skyrocketing in this country. It's not a myth why breast cancer has gone through the roof. Our hormones are out of balance. Our estrogen's too high. Our testosterone's too high. Our vitamin D levels are too low. They're all hormones. We need to help our bodies from a hormone perspective. Barbara, I'll just read your comments and I'm going to wrap up if there's no more. I encourage all women to educate themselves, do your research and respect yourself enough to take your health seriously. Totally agree. I had a lady yesterday who said, oh, I can't afford something. The voice was, I can't afford it. I'm like, hang on. When did affording an iPad for your son and, another device for your child at Christmas time and all these other things that we think we have to afford come above your health? We have health. If you have a stroke, you got nothing. Absolutely nothing. And don't think the stroke isn't, or the blood clot or the pulmonary embolus isn't going to touch you on your shoulder. Another good friend of mine died last year at the age of 46. He was a triathlete. Craig and family, if you ever see this post, love your work, love you. We grew up together and he died of a blood clot as well. And an elite athlete. So the pill and blood clots, incredibly high. The pill and suicide deaths, incredibly high. If you've got a teenage girl, or you know anyone who's got a teenage girl, please, can you ask them why they're going on it? If it's for contraceptive, get them to consider a device. If it's for a hormone imbalance, can get them to somehow feel awesome about honouring their health, eating better, drinking better, exercising their body. If I can help in any way, I will. If they need to come as a client, happy days. If they just want to do a hair test, happy days. But let's hold hands as a group of strong women around the world and let's stop this ludicrous stuff that's killing our girls. That's all I got to say. Thanks for listening and thanks for sharing. Bye.